Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the Am I Overreacting subreddit from user RudeWinter9192. And just a quick warning before we do get into this one. If you're eating or anything like that, you're having your lunch right now, you may want to skip this story. Pretty grim in places. You've been warned. And brace yourself for this title. It says, Am I overreacting for calling off my wedding after my fiance got drunk, put on my wedding dress, and had an accident in it? You heard that right. This sounds completely ridiculous, but it really happened and I can't stop thinking about it. Some people are telling me I completely overreacted, and I'm starting to question myself. I'm 28 and was supposed to get married last weekend to my fiance Nick, who is 30. We've been together for 4 years. He's funny and a little impulsive, but I always thought he had good judgment. He drinks socially, but I've never seen him totally out of control until now. The night before our wedding, I stayed at home with my sister and 2 of my bridesmaids for a relaxed night. Nick went out with his groomsmen. I expected him to come home tipsy at most. At around 1:30 in the morning, he came home absolutely wasted, slurring, stumbling, sweaty. I brushed my teeth when I heard him banging around in the guest room. When I went to check, I saw him dragging my wedding dress out of the closet. I asked what he was doing, and he just laughed and said he wanted to see how it felt to be the bride. I told him to put it back and not to touch it, but he was not listening at all. Right in front of me, he stripped down completely and started putting on the dress. He could barely get it over his body and he kept tripping over the train. I didn't know what to say. Then he dropped to the floor in the dress, still laughing. Then he went quiet, looked up at me with his panicked face and said, "Oh no." A few seconds later, he had an accident. Diarrhea. It soaked through the back of the dress and onto the carpet. The smell was immediate and overwhelming. I stood there in shock while he started crying and tried to get out of the dress, which only made more of a mess. It was all over the fabric, the floor, and him. I told him to get in the shower and I left. I drove straight to my mum's house and didn't take any of his calls. The next morning, I called off the wedding. Since then, Nick has apologized over and over. He said he blacked out and barely remembers what happened. His family is furious with me and says I'm throwing away a great relationship over a drunken mistake. Some of my friends agree and think I should have postponed instead of cancelling. Even my maid of honor said I might be letting emotions take over, and it wasn't unforgivable. But I feel like something broke that night. I didn't just feel disgusted, I felt disrespected. The dress wasn't just expensive, it was important to me. It symbolized something. I cannot unsee what happened. I can't laugh about it or move on like it's just one bad night. I don't know how to look at it in the same way. Am I overreacting for calling off the wedding? Commenter says to OP, is this something that happens often? Does he often get blackout drunk? If yes, consider this a bullet dodged. Either way, it's a little concerning he got blackout drunk the day before your wedding. I think you need to have a conversation to figure out whether this is a relationship worth saving. OP replied saying no, this is the first time he's even gotten this drunk in the time I've known him, which is why I think I might be overreacting. Someone replies saying, is it possible that someone put something in his drink? From your description, this is not in character for your fiance. OP says, I hadn't thought of that, maybe. Could it really have caused all that? Also, he was out with his friends, not like he was with strangers. Formidable Mistress says, not overreacting because what the fuck? I can see how he's out with his buddies and everyone is celebrating and drinking and things get stupid. I can even see if he's a lightweight and can't hold his liquor and shit himself. I feel like all of that is a completely separate issues from the dress. But what the fuck did he feel it was okay to wear your wedding dress before you? Putting on your dress the day of the wedding is so symbolic and special. It's an event in itself. You put all this effort into finding a dress that is uniquely yours. It's a physical representation of your transition into married life. He stole that from you and quite literally shit all over it. Even if he hadn't ruined it that way, he would have likely ripped it. You'll ever see a man try on a dress that wasn't tailored for them. You should be able to trust that what is important to you is important to your future spouse. If he's this far out of touch with common sense and decency, how can you trust him to be an emotional and financial partner? How can you trust his judgment when it comes to the safety of you and your future children? I bet there are other red flags to his personality that you may or may have not seen. You have every right to call off the wedding. You can't trust this man. There is no going back. Take this as a very clear sign from God, the universe, whatever, that this was never going to work. But this man is not where you need to be. Tell everyone who thinks you were too harsh they can marry Mr. Hanky the Bridal Poo. And one more comment which says you implored him to stop and he did not. With what? 12 or so hours before your wedding? Then it obviously didn't fit and he forced it on. So he was fine with damaging it too. Less than a day before you had to wear it, so there would have been no time to sew up any rips. Then he shit in it and rolled around in it. It's easy for others to just say get over it when they didn't go through all that themselves. They're thinking about, fuck, I don't even know. The cost of the wedding, not having him in their own lives, who knows? Don't let their sunk cost become your sunk cost. Seeing all this was a deal breaker for you. So these people need to either accept that or keep their opinions to themselves if they don't. But guilt tripping you about your deal breaker doesn't fly. It's not their lives or futures on the line, it's yours. People break up all the time for less. You're not obligated to pledge your life to this embarrassing man. Oh my word. All that the night before the wedding. She was telling him to stop doing it and he just carried on. Just totally blanking her and trying to squeeze on the dress and then shitting all over it. When OP said at the very end of that post, but I feel like something broke that night. You can't be overreacting for calling off the wedding. You can't go into a marriage, feeling like something broke after that you can't see him the same way again. It would just be silly to carry on with a wedding like that. I mean, he ruined the dress the day before the wedding. And obviously I don't know the price of this dress, but I know wedding dresses can be very expensive, and that's without the emotional ties to it as well, like some of the comments were saying. You spend a long time looking for that perfect wedding dress. But there was a lot of talk from others about his friends pressuring him to drink, possible spiking of his drinks. But OP did update the post and says, hi again. First off, thank you to everyone who responded. I didn't expect the level of attention my post got, and honestly, reading the replies made me feel less alone. Some people told me I was right to call it off. Others said it was a terrible mistake, but not unforgivable. Both sides helped me see the situation more clearly. I spoke to Nick this morning. Not for closure, not for a big emotional talk, just to return some things and check in about logistics, since everything's been cancelled. But we ended up sitting down and talking for over an hour. He apologized again, sincerely. He didn't try to defend himself or shift blame. He told me he didn't remember everything clearly, but knows he came home wasted, saw the dress and, in his words, thought it would be funny or meaningful or something. He didn't mean to ruin the dress. He didn't mean to humiliate me, but he did, and he knows that. He said he's ashamed of what happened and how out of control he let himself get. He also admitted this wasn't the first time his drinking led to something bad. He said this was a wake-up call and that he's going to stop drinking entirely. I didn't even know he had a problem. The thing is, I still care about him. We're supposed to get married. I didn't walk away from someone I didn't love, but something inside me cracked that night, and it hasn't healed. I don't know if it will. I know it sounds superficial to some people, but for me, it was a symbol of our future, of the person I thought I was marrying. And watching him defile it in that state, whether on purpose or by accident, changed something. I've been trying to figure out if that one night should be the end of 4 years together. But it's not really just one night, is it? It's what it revealed. About how he handles stress, about how far he let himself go, and how I felt standing in that room, watching someone I loved become almost unrecognizable. I haven't made a final decision yet. Technically, the wedding is still cancelled, but the relationship isn't officially over. We're on kind of an emotional pause, I guess. He says he wants to make things right, and maybe he will. Maybe with time I'll want to try again. But right now, I still feel like I'm grieving something that ended, and I don't know if I'm ready to build it back from scratch. So I guess I'm now asking, am I overreacting if I walk away from this completely? And the majority of the comments after that basically just said that OP wouldn't be overreacting to walk away in this situation. There was some comments saying there's no right or wrong answer here, and it's your choice in the end. But Don't blame yourself for walking away if that's what you choose to do. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, there was a bit of a different story in the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from Lake Glen 4287, who says, would I be the arsehole here if I declined a volunteer job with a charity because they expect me to pay membership dues and have not been nice? For context, I've been volunteering for many years, and this has never happened to me before. I suppose it is a sign of changing times. I don't know what to do. Please give me your honest opinion, especially if you had to pay for the privilege of volunteering your time and talents to a charity recently. Thanks so much. A local charity in my area asked if I would sit on their 10-person steering committee. They had a vacancy. Of the 9 remaining people, 7 are employees or owners of large companies, big donors, gold sponsors of the charity. So when it was time for my interview with 4 members on a Zoom call, I specifically said I would be joining on my own, not from a gold sponsor company. And I asked what the financial obligation on me as an individual would be. I was assured there were none. They told me they are flush with cash from grants and not to worry about it. They were honestly great. I repeatedly asked what my responsibilities would be. They said mainly monthly planning meetings, a member outreach subcommittee, and event planning. Cool. I don't have money, but I do have time and talent to offer. My talents are professional. This has not been a problem before. Then I met the committee chairman by himself in a Zoom call. Let's say he was not very nice to me. He started by asking what I have to bring to the table. Why should they let me on the committee? I knew he had my entire bio. I'm educated and so on, so instead of begging, I told him a side note true story. That I was currently trying to get on the Founders Day garden competition judges panel in town, but without much success since those people are very cliquey and don't welcome strangers. We laughed and he spent the rest of the hour bragging about himself and his work. At the very end of the hour, he squeezed in that they would be leaning on me heavily for event work. There was no time left to ask him to elaborate. Fast forward to Monday, I got an email from him telling me the committee met and voted me in. I just had to complete an application packet with my picture, and we will cover your annual membership. I was shocked that there was a membership fee to donate my time, but since he said they were covering it, I just wrote back thanking him and saying I'd get to work on the application packet. Later that day, I got a very terse email from his administrative assistant. One of the committee members I had not yet met said in no uncertain terms he did not mean to say they were covering my membership fee. That's exactly what his email said, and they expected my prompt $100 annual payment. It took the air out of my lungs for 2 main reasons, and I need to know what you guys think. First, 20% of my shock was the money. I specifically asked all the people I interviewed with what would be the expectations on me, especially the financial obligations, since I'm not a wealthy gold donor and my employers are not sponsoring me on this or any other charity. Second, and 60% of the problem for me, is how disrespected I was. Talked to like I was in 3rd grade. Not an ounce of appreciation for the amount of event work I'm about to be responsible to deliver to them, or any effort to be friends in the process. Like I was applying for a paid job. Third, the remaining 20% is my concern that more unwelcome obligation surprises await me if I take this on. Twice he has surprised me with weighty things. Honestly, I want to run away now before I am knee-deep in the work, letting down the other nice people at this charity. If I bail, what if anything should I say is my reason? I've been drafting all kinds of short replies in my mind for 3 days and nothing is sounding good. Help. Thanks so much in advance. Part of me, the petty side of me, would want to reply with a non-professional email, basically calling him out on this bullshit and basically just say like you're taking the piss. But I imagine, and the smartest thing to do in this situation is probably be, a bit professional about it and simple, just saying something like, after further consideration of time and the financial commitments involved, I've decided this opportunity isn't right for me. Because in the end, you don't owe them anything. You don't owe them an explanation, especially when they hid things from you and springing surprise obligations on you further down the line. It's literally just taking the piss. But Laughing Fox Create says, I've worked with various charities for years and run fast. There are plenty of normal organizations that will be grateful for your help. Kat says, not the arsehole. I would reply to that email, attach the note about the membership being covered already, and CC in everyone that you talk to. Ask for clarification on the membership dues, and after you get whatever answer, tell them thank you for the clarification, but you are no longer willing to apply. Have the day they deserve. It eliminates the telephone game between members and lets them all know that there was some sort of communication breakdown. So it was a couple of days after this that OP came in with their update and said thank you so much to everyone who read and commented on my post about the charity that wanted me to pay them dues out of my own pocket for the privilege of donating my time and talents to their committee. I read every single comment. Your feedback really helped me to feel better. There was a huge outpouring of support for me and agreement that I was seeing signs of a dysfunctional group, to trust my gut and resign promptly. So that's what I did. I first emailed the very kind person who initially approached me to ask me if I would join their charity's committee. I wanted to show her the courtesy of hearing it from me first. My interactions with her were honestly always great, and I felt bad. I told her I withdrew my name, gave no details, and wished her all the best. She replied immediately with the sweetest email, offering to talk about it, and probably next week we will have a call. She asked me to please keep an open mind that maybe it will work out in the future. Then the main email. I copied the secretary's rude message to me about membership fees and forwarded it to the chair. I double checked, and as many of you correctly guessed, she had not copied him in on it. My email to him was brief and polite and followed your recommendations. I said that upon reflection, we would not be a good fit, and I was withdrawing my name from further consideration. I wished him all the best for the future. He emailed me back asking if we could talk about it. I replied thank you, perhaps we could collaborate in the future. But I was glad to get away from this group and his leadership that I don't actually plan to revisit for at least a year if ever. I want you all to know how very much I appreciated your encouragement. You said to trust my gut, to not tolerate disrespectful treatment, that from your painful experiences you cautioned it would probably not get any better, that nothing is worth my peace, and that I can find a volunteer experience that will appreciate me and not require me to pay for the privilege. Thank you all. One gentleman suggested I should put up with the shit treatment and pay the money because this is what is required to climb the business ladders in society and improve my life. I know he meant well, but in reading it, I realized this is exactly the kind of thinking we were taught and that I now reject. The idea that we have to prostrate ourselves to money and power in the hope that some might someday trickle down onto us if we are lucky. We might meet the right person or get a new job opportunity out of it, or that in some way it will elevate us a rung or two in a few years. He believes there's a pecking order, and people at the top are not courteous to people below them. I love my life as it is. I'm not looking to improve it in these ways. Lastly, some people mention that there are charities where their boards are made up of paid representatives of large companies, where they are reimbursed for their time or their dues, and the time they dedicate to the meetings are comped by their companies for tax write-offs, perks, and mutual donations. And that is a whole culture. I know that. Clearly, that is not me. I told this charity I was joining on my own. In the words of Elton John and Bernie Taupin, my gift is my song. I'm a workhorse, not a show horse. I'm not aiming to reap any business contact benefits from the volunteer work, just to be treated kindly and serve my community. I keep looking for other places to share my time and talents. Again, thank you all so much. Ivan says to this one, excellent. Glad you didn't take that nonsense treatment. I hope you replied saying I appreciate it, thanks. Born Eggplant says, today I learned that paying a charity for the privilege of volunteering is a thing that people actually do. Another commenter says, I used to volunteer at a museum I loved. After a certain number of volunteer hours in a year, we automatically got given free annual membership, plus a few family and friends passes. It was a way to thank me for my time. I didn't have to pay them anything. There was another commenter below this on the Best Of subreddit and said, I was asked to join a seemingly reputable charity. They wanted my help with bringing in celebrities for their annual fundraisers, which is something I do professionally. They also wanted volunteer support, which I love to do. They then threw in at the last minute that their first event was in 30 days. They had no budget and wanted me to pay over $2,000 a year to sit on the board. I said thank you and goodbye. The cheeky bloody bastards. What the hell's that about? Another commenter said it's actually really common for charities to expect board members to make large donations and / or bring in donations from their wealthy friends. But normally A, they screen for the ability to do that as well as the willingness to participate, and B, is a lot more than $100. This place was weird in several different directions. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. Do we have any volunteers here that's had similar experiences in the past? Let us know your thoughts on it. Always love that kind of information for people who have knowledge about all of it. But let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Best of No Updates from Disastrous Bug 6354. And it says, am I the arsehole for walking out of my sister's wedding after finding out why my son was excluded? My sister, 30 female, got married yesterday. I, 32 male, was so happy for her and agreed to help her out. She told me that the wedding was child-free, which I understand, so I asked my best friend if there was any way he could watch my son, and he agreed. I arrived at the wedding and found out that it was not child-free. There were probably 15 children there. I was confused, but I didn't want to make a scene, so I waited until my sister came over to me, and I asked her what the deal was. What she told me broke my heart, and I don't know how I can look at her the same way again. She confessed that my son, 12 male, was excluded because he has an amputated leg. She said it would draw attention to him and the wedding. Oh, what a bastard. I almost lost it. I could understand if he was going to be disruptive or something, but because of that, I didn't trust myself in that moment, so I just walked out and went home. When I got home, my son asked me why I was back so early, so I made up some excuse and then spent the rest of the day having fun with him because it was the only thing keeping me sane. Since then, I've been getting dozens of messages from people saying how me leaving caused my sister to start crying and the whole wedding was ruined. But I honestly don't care right now. I'm a mess. I'm a single dad, so I don't have someone to help me right now. But these messages are actually making me wonder, am I the arsehole? Absolutely, of course you're not going to be the arsehole in this situation. The first question you need to be asking is what your sister's telling these people, because there's no way she's told them the truth. There's no way she said, oh, I excluded his son because he got an amputated leg. Because any other normal person would be replying to the bride and saying, you did fucking what? Imagine that thought process going through the bride's head. I'm going to exclude my nephew because he has an amputated leg and it's going to take the attention away from me. Imagine that thought going through your head. Holy shit. Just reply to all these messages saying, oh no, my sister excluded my son because he got an amputated leg, and then see the reactions from them. But when my gastards are flabbered. OP, when asked about what the sister thought would happen, says, I honestly don't know what she was thinking because I don't think I can talk to her right now. She couldn't even tell me why she didn't want him there before the wedding. That is what's making me more mad than anything. OP added in the comments saying, thank you so much for the comments so far. I've seen some people hoping my son and I had fun yesterday. My son had a blast and it helped me feel a little better. I took him to his favorite restaurant and then he wanted to see the Barbie movie, so we went together. When we got home, he wanted to play his new video game, so I played with him for a couple of hours. He was smiling the whole time, which made me feel a little better. Beautiful story, says to OP. You know you're not the arsehole. Please. Your sister started crying because she knows she's a miserable, self-absorbed witch for excluding her nephew, whom I'm assuming she loves, eye roll, from her wedding for something beyond his control. Personally, I wouldn't put any stock in anyone telling me I ruined the wedding. Do these people know why she excluded your son, and they agreed with it? Do they know she lied to you about the wedding being child-free to avoid you bringing your son? Yeah. If you want to take the high road and not tell everyone message you knew to fuck off, then just settle for a block. I wouldn't even bother to respond, and my sister will be dead to me. Opie says thank you. I'm not sure if they know, but I don't think I can talk to any of them right now without going off on them. I blocked my sister for now, which hurts because I thought we were close. There's no way these people know. I am not having it. And I would be telling them, I would literally be saying, this is what she said. This is what the fucking problem is. Gee bloody whiz, I am boiling up. What would you do in this situation? Do you reckon that relationship between brother and sister is dead now? How do you look at your sister the same way again after saying something like that? About your child? Absolute madness. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so, so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.